Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Lust is boring. First off, exciting news. We want to invite you to a party. Chastity Project is celebrating our 25th birthday. That's right. This August, this month, we as a ministry are turning 25 years old. And so we're going to be having an online party with my wife and I, plus Father Mike Schmitz. We're going to spend about only a half hour online live, giving away free stuff. We're going to give away a case of books, signed books. We're going to give away a free virtual seminar for your school, your parish, your living room, your teenager, whatever you want. And so if you want to join us, we just want to invite everybody to be part of the celebration, kind of forecasting where we're going to be heading for the next 25 years. And just want to invite you to be a part of that. Just go to chastity.com. You'll see a pop-up ad that's going to appear. You can register for free. Join us live. It's going to take place at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on August 25th to celebrate our 25th birthday. So please register, join, share it. We'd love to have as many people as possible with us live. My wife and I, Father Mike Schmitz. Also, if you want to come on pilgrimage with us, our next one is coming up in December for the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's not only going to be a sightseeing sit, but we're trying to build in as much as possible into the pilgrimage ministry opportunities. We're going to be spending a day at an orphanage, working with poor kids. We're seeing what we can do to set up something to like build a house for the poor, maybe spend some time feeding the poor. So it's not just going there to get, it's going there to give. And so if you want to come, bring your whole family, just go to chastity.com/pilgrimage or click the link in the show notes and you're going to find all the details on that. Now, today's show, a lot of people are wondering, okay, I've got a teenager, they want a smartphone. What do I do to keep the kids safe? Or how do I keep my marriage free from porn? What kind of guardrails can I put into place? So I've got accountability in my life. What we decided is let's have someone on the show who's not only a parent, but an expert when it comes to internet accountability, safety, to find out, well, what are they doing in their houses? Because it almost feels like our teenagers are always one or two steps ahead of us when it comes to technology. And so we're always doing this game of catch up. So we're going to look at basically the top 5 things that parents, married couples can do to keep their house safe online. And to help us do that is Karen Potter. She works for Covenant Eyes. She's got more than 25 years of experience teaching, working in the public and private education sectors, as well as youth ministry. She's been married for 24 years, and most importantly, she's got 2 kids as well. And so I just want to welcome to the show, Karen Potter. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason, and congratulations on 25 years. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's pretty exciting. I mean, God's kind of spoiled us. I always think that, the ministry is more his gift to us than it is ours to him, and maybe he just thought I needed to hear 3 chastity talks a day to stay in line myself. So he gave me that ministry. Who knows? But so thank you. It's pretty exciting now. Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing over there on Covenant Eyes, and then we'll kind of dive into the top 5 things parents can do to keep their kids safe.
Yeah, so I actually lead our team that works with churches all across the United States and even across the globe here at Covenant Eyes. And our job really is about education and equipping church leaders as well as church goers on the dangers of technology as well as ways to overcome those challenges. We know that technology, certainly has a lot of positives, but also brings in a lot of negatives into our lives. So my team here at Covenant Eyes, we just work in the churches, both Catholic and non, supporting leaders in ways to help people overcome pornography addiction and just learn more about helping support healthy families on technology.
Yeah, it's super important. And I think one of the things that I've discovered working with young people is there's almost this naive assumption that, social media exists because companies want us to talk to our friends, and companies just want us to be connected. And, that's why they give us these platforms, and it's just fun and friendly. Like, no, folks, this is a business. All of these are businesses. They exist for one thing, which is the bottom line, which is money. And well, how do you make money? Well, you've got to make your app or your social media platform sticky. It's got to be addictive if it's going to make money. And so you've got brilliant minds behind these from MIT, Harvard, wherever, learning how to create systems that are going to be intrinsically addictive. And so if technology is kind of designed to foster addiction for the sake of income and profit, what is the best way to curb that?
Yeah, well, you bring up some really good points there, and I think it's really important. It can't be stressed enough that technology is designed to be addictive. It's designed to gather data. It's a marketing ploy to get information and data that can be used to retarget to, our kids and adults alike. And addictions have consequences. So how do we, face those addictions and overcome those challenges? It's really by implementing some strategies in our technology life that lead us to make better choices. And I think it starts at the top. So, whenever I'm doing talks to parents, it's really important that as parents, we lead the way in our families. We recently did a survey at one of our Christian schools that we were doing a presentation at to all the high school and middle school students. And it was really, really crazy. But these kids actually thought their parents were using technology too much and that their parents needed to take a technology break. So, we're modeling this behavior to our kids, and we really need to do a better job. So I think step one really has to be for parents to do a better job with their own technology usage. Even if we're just using technology in healthy ways and maybe not being involved in pornography and different things, it's still taking up our time, right? We're squandering massive amounts of time and we're distracted by our phones, and our kids see that. And what we model to them really does drive what they also do. So I think that's really one way to overcome that challenge. And then the next is to educate ourselves about the behavior modification techniques that are being used. These companies, like you mentioned, they have the best and the brightest working for them because they want their social media applications to be addictive, because they generate money through ad revenue and through data collection and selling that data. So they need people to keep coming back, and they need people to keep giving them that free information. So they build in there all sorts of little bings and dings that keep us coming back, the likes, even the negative comments. It's been shown that when you receive negative feedback on social media, you're drawn to that, right? Because our fear, our fight or flight instincts kick in and we're drawn to that negativity. And so it's just another way to bring us into that addiction of technology.
Yeah, it's interesting how a lot of the executives in Silicon Valley don't even let their kids have tablets and smartphones because they know how the stuff works, and they just want the kid to go play outside, ride a bike, fly a kite, just get out of there, stay off that thing. And, I can see how they use this addictive, mindset for adults different than kids, where, an adult, I know from my perspective, okay, I'm having lunch, eating a sandwich by myself or whatever. I'm like, with one hand, I want to be on a screen and see if, Aaron Judge has hit his next home run, or, what's the latest stuff going on in the news. Like just those little short snippets to just kill time in a sense. But if time is sacred, then killing time is sacrilegious. And so as parents, they might be going after us in one way, but for the teens, I know, especially when it comes to social media, they've got these features. Well, you got to check in and get your streak going. So that way you can connect with your friend 147 days in a row, showing what a great, strong friendship you have. And I'd known of some Christian teens that they were going on a retreat and you couldn't have your cell phone on the retreat. And it was like traumatic. Like, what are we going to do? We're going to break a streak of like 427 consecutive days of connecting and earning these badges or whatever. And so they decided, I'm going to leave my phone with my girlfriend so that she can check in with me as if I'm there, so we can keep that streak going in her absence. And so what can parents do here? Like number two, when it comes to social media, because it's one thing to try to like just block pornographic websites on the browser, but apps are a whole different beast. Social media. Yeah. Well, any tips for parents when it comes to social media safety for their kids?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is that it starts with having a dialogue with your children and making sure that they're not getting engaged with social media too young. So, a study was done by a Center for Women. I think it was the Wesley Centers for Women, and it found that young kids joining social media like Snapchat, Instagram, etc., before the age of 11 had significantly higher problematic digital behaviors than those who joined who were older. So, the one thing is that a lot of parents are allowing their children, and I think that's the key right there, allowing. Social media is not some like rite of passage that we get. It's something that parents choose to allow their children to participate in. We need to take more ownership over the phones that we're giving to our kids. I mean, it's not just a free-for-all. We have to set parameters and guardrails for our children. I mean, that's very biblical to have guardrails in place. I think Hebrews 12:11 talks a little bit about loving guardrails. We need to do that as parents. You cannot just hand over a phone and allow them to have access to the App Store. You need to have a dialogue with your children and set some parameters, talk about what applications are going to be allowed. And then a lot of these applications, unknown to parents, do have a few parental control features that are built into those. And organizations like Protect Young Eyes dive into those, and they have tutorials where they can walk you through how to set up those parental controls on those different apps. But I think the biggest thing parents can do is take ownership over the phone. You need to set the parameters, have conversations, and together with your child, determine what applications are appropriate, and discussing with them, like, why do you want to be on this application? What is it used for? How are you planning to use it? And then making sure that you have some sort of control over that, and using the parental guardrails that are also available in those applications. I think that's the first thing I would recommend to parents, because oftentimes parents just deflect, like, well, they're just online, I don't know. And it's you're allowing to go online, you're letting them have free reign on the application. So you have to take control of that.
I remember a friend of mine, he wanted to write a book called Vanished, about how the fact that when any kid in their neighborhood got a phone, the kid literally just vanished. It was gone. Like, they used to be out on the streets playing baseball games, and they got a phone, just boom, like they had been like the rapture, just been abducted somewhere, deported. Like, the kids were just gone, and the neighborhood like became this ghost town where each kid just like got sucked into their little space. But so I think with social media, like, I mean, our kids, they've got phones. There's no internet browsing on the phones right now yet. But we've got no social media for the kids. No Twitter, no Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, like literally nothing, because the odds of something actually good coming forth from one of these social media platforms for a 15-year-old is slim to zero. And the anxiety rates of the kids go through the roof, when they start comparing themselves on Instagram and late at night browsing through everyone else's perfect body and perfect hair and relationship. And so I'd say just keep them off the social media for the most part in high school, and then put the phone to bed in your rooms, especially now that school year's kicking off. Like, let's get the blue glow of that phone out of their brains at least a half hour before they go to bed, so they can kind of start slowing down, get that thing out of the room, or at least get something on the phone that kind of shuts it down at a particular time. Now, obviously for different kids, we're going to have different boundaries depending on their age. So could you maybe give some conversation tips that parents should and could be having for kids, whether it's before they get a phone, as soon as they're getting the phone, and then, before they head off to college, maybe different age range tips for talking to kids about internet safety?
Yeah. And, it's really important for parents to understand that there is no one size fits all. So every child is different. And really, you have to have a relationship with your child to understand when they're ready for this type of interaction online. I mean, once a child engages in social media, conformity bias can happen. So they start to believe the social reality versus the physical reality. And so there's all sorts of reasons that we don't want them to be involved in social media before they're ready. And you only will know if they're ready by talking to your child to figure out, what level they're at as far as their ability to navigate technology and make good choices. So one thing that we absolutely, stand behind is that the Wait for 8 movement is fantastic. Like, do not, if you can at all avoid it, get children involved with technology and smartphones before 8th grade. Let them be kids. Let them experience all the way through 8th grade what it's like to be a kid without that heaviness of technology. Once they reach that level, then you can start discussing different applications. Some are safer than others. Snapchat by design was created by the porn industry. It started off as and it's like, so for me, I would just say that's a no. I mean, the foundation of that organization was not good from its inception. So let's just pass on that one. But maybe you look at something like Instagram, and together as a parent and child, you need to go through Instagram and look at some of the friends and what they're posting on there and discuss why they want to be involved on Instagram and what they plan to use that platform for. And then based on their answers and how they plan to use it and what parameters and safeguards you can put in place, then perhaps you start to allow a little bit of that as they become high school students and are able to navigate that better. But you need to know where they're at on the cognitive development spectrum as well. I mean, it's designed to addict these young, malleable brains. So you don't want them getting involved in this stuff too soon.
Now, let's say kids already stumbled upon pornography. And I know a lot of the kids are, oh, why don't you trust me? And it's like, look, it's not that I don't trust you. It's that I just don't trust pornographers.
Yep.
And I know they're coming after you. That's why you're putting these guardrails into place. But let's say a kid breaks through the guardrails, or the junk breaks through in some unexpected commercial that pops up in some innocuous, innocent looking video game or whatever. And the kid sees the stuff. What's a good parental reaction when you find out that your kid saw that stuff and they don't know that you know, or they confess in you that they've seen the stuff? How should a parent respond in a way that's going to keep that dialogue open with the kid?
Absolutely. No, great question. So the first thing you got to do is remain calm. So oftentimes, parents will kind of freak out when they find this out. And the first thing you got to do is take a step back, get your composure, do a little research and prep before you go and talk to your child about this. So get your composure, check some browsing history, check to see if they've been using private mode, incognito mode, see if there is anything on their Covenant Eyes report, if you're using Covenant Eyes software, which I would encourage all parents that have their children online to use, because Covenant Eyes provides an unerasable report, right? So we can see some of that activity by using those reports. And then also get with your spouse and talk about this ahead of time. Rehearse what you're going to say. It is going to be a tough conversation, and you need to come at it with a cool and collective head. So rehearsing that with your spouse is going to be important. Maybe even talking to a trusted mentor who has been through something like this before. And then when you're ready to actually have the conversation with your child, just remember that you need to have a redemptive attitude, right? Kids are going to make mistakes, and this is not going to be the last time that happens where you have to have a tough conversation about a mistake that was made. But just be prepared to have that attitude that's redemptive and filled with grace, and ask good questions. So, when you're talking to your child, ask them questions about, what were you looking for? And, how did you stumble on this? And how did you feel about that? And let them do most of the talking. Don't come at it in an accusatory, like, I saw your history. What were you doing? Just ask some very good questions and brace yourself for an ongoing conversation, because over time, you're going to have to continue to have this dialogue with your child. Once they're exposed, the whole internet has now opened up to them. And so, they may continue to be curious, and you need to equip them and let them know that being curious about things is okay, but this is how we address that. And what does the Bible teach us about how we're feeling and things like that? So it's going to become an ongoing conversation, but just don't panic. One thing that parents do wrong every time is they get really worked up and really scared, and they let their emotions lead the way. And we really need to be collective and calm in this situation.
Yeah, and two of the things that you said kind of jumped out to me is one of the question of what were you looking for? I think there's a surface answer to that. Well, I was just looking for, flip-flops, to get for the beach, and then this thing popped up. Okay, but there's a deeper question on that. Once they start actually looking for the porn, it's a question that Christ asked, what are you looking for? Yeah. And, maybe the answer is curiosity. Maybe the answer is I want to see someone who's looking at me with desire. Maybe the question is, I want to desire someone else. And it's not a surfacey question that you'll get a great answer to, but you want to start making them think, what is it that I'm really craving for? And is this thing going to ultimately satisfy me? Obviously, no. But I think to get to the root of healing some of these deep-rooted porn addictions, we've got to start asking that very pointed question of what is it that you're looking for? Because I think there's a good craving, a legitimate unmet need that's getting kind of twisted. Another thing you'd mentioned was that sometimes the kids are in this private or incognito mode. What does that mean? How do we know if they're in that mode? How do we find out if they're using that mode? Could you just give us a little tech information on what you meant by that?
Yeah, so incognito mode is really a way that you can turn your browser so it's not tracking your history. If you're using Covenant Eyes, we do have a notification that will actually allow you to be notified if your browsing activity goes into that mode, which is super helpful. But typically, if someone's using that, it's not going to record any of their history at all. So this is where it becomes problematic, because most kids, if they engage in seeking out pornography and they know, they're not doing it unintentionally, they actually will Google right out of the gate, how do I hide this from my parents? And so there's step-by-step tutorials online how to do that. It would be helpful for parents to probably learn that. So Google it for yourself, because then you'll understand what your child is doing to hide that that activity. But yeah, if you're using a software that will notify you of that, it's really, really helpful tool. And another thing I wanted to just kind of throw out there is that when we're talking to our kids, it's really important that we let them know that we are safe. Oftentimes, we want them to feel safe and know that they can confide in us and what they're thinking and feeling. So part of that rehearsing before you talk to your child is to almost prepare yourself, because you need to be prepared for whatever they say. And it might not be what you're expecting, and it might be a little more than you were ready to hear, but you need to be prepared for that. And you don't want the shocked mom look on your face. You want to actually be prepared to take that information with grace and just and let them know that you are safe and that they can confide in you with even the tough conversations and the tough things that they need to express.
Now, I've heard the expression used before that some parents do of set it and forget it. In other words, like, okay, I click this over to that. We're good, for the next 5 years of life. Like, not only why is that the wrong approach, but what should parents do instead of just learning the tech, flipping the switches, and then sitting back? What's a better approach than set it and forget it?
Yeah, I wish it was as easy as that. I mean, my goodness, I know when my kids were in high school, it would have been great to just set it and forget it because we were very busy with sports and activities and all the rest. But unfortunately, in this day and age, technology is changing at a pace that is so rapid that being just, a passive parent and not staying in tune to the changes of technology is just not going to be allowed. So really what you need to do is you need to put in those guardrails, get yourself Covenant Eyes installed on your devices. That's a great first step. Get a router that's got protection built into it. So there's a lot of really great ones out there. Get a router, get Covenant Eyes, and then more importantly than all of those parameters, you've got to start early and often having conversations with your kids. They've got to be prepared to have this conversation with you ongoing throughout their childhood, because relationship and conversation is more powerful than any of the guardrails you can put in place, because you don't know what kids are going to have on the school bus. I mean, oftentimes our kids might be making the right choices, but they go to school and someone else is not. And it's as easy as just shoving a phone in your face and bam, you've been exposed to something. So preparing them, teaching them, and then slowly removing those training wheels from our children on technology is really, really important. So please don't set it and forget it, because you will get left behind and the technology will move past you. And kids are honestly, they're more in tune to what's happening in technology than parents are. So that's just not a good mantra to have.
Yeah, no. Now, some parents listening and is like, okay, I want to get this. Do they start by going online, covenanteyes.com? Do they get on the App Store? What's the best way for them to go about getting Covenant Eyes on the devices for all the screens in their family?
Yeah, the first thing I would do is go to our website, which is covenanteyes.com. And from there, using your promo code, Jason, they can actually get a free 30-day trial of Covenant Eyes. So that would be a really great place to start. And in addition, if you go to our website, you will get access to a bunch of great resources. So if you're looking for conversation guides, or maybe you want to do a digital detox with your whole family because you're just like, okay, we're like on overload for technology and we need to detox, we've got all of that on our website under the resource section. So I would encourage parents to go to the website, get the free trial of Covenant Eyes, get that installed on your devices, and then start diving into our resources so that you can be educated and equipped.
Yeah, and so the promo code that you had mentioned is just the word chastity. So chastity. You can just type that in, get a free month free, or click the link in the show notes. It'll take you right there at the, that code kind of built in. But, it's a win-win. Just try it out for a month, stick it on everybody's phones. And it's not like a spy thing. It's like, hey, kids, we're going to put this on all our devices together so we can kind of hold each other accountable. And so you just go to covenanteyes.com, promo code chastity, or click the link below. Another link that we're going to have below is for Exodus 90. A lot of guys think, Exodus 90, cold showers, no thanks. Tried it, no fun. A lot of people don't realize Exodus 90 is a lot more than just some ascetic cold shower experience. I just started it a couple days ago with a group of other guys where we're doing like a 40-day version of it that they've got built in. 40 days with St. Michael the Archangel. And it's not the full feathered cold shower, this, that, but there is plenty of asceticism built in, but mostly of all fellowship, which guys need, because when it comes to this issue, the last thing you want on earth is try to like win the battle alone against the flesh. flesh, the world, the devil. And so Exodus90.com/Jason is going to give you a shot to check out Exodus 90 if you're a guy. Got to do that thing. And then also, if our program's been helpful to you, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Jason Ebert. And the people who give there, $5 a month, 10 a month, or whatever, those are the ones who keep this entire show going. And so for patrons who are listening, just know that we see you, we appreciate you, you're a tremendous blessing to our family. And then again, last of all, don't forget this August 25th, we're having our 25th birthday party for the ministry, where everyone who clicks in live is going to get a free gift, ranging from a free ebook at the bottom of the line to a free virtual seminar, cases of books, signed books, all kinds of stuff. Please join us with a party with my wife, myself, and Father Mike Schmidt. So again, Karen, thank you for coming on the program, and keep up the wonderful work there at Covenant Eyes.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.